All right, we are live, John.
Let's do it, everybody. I'm John Garcia.
I'm Steve Edwards, and we're here too.
Weed through the BS.
Yeah, we want to get down to the nitty gritty. We've had some phenomenal guests. We got a great guest here today. And I actually had to go put a jacket on.
I definitely missed the memo on the jacket. Sorry.
You know, I don't know if you know this, Kevin, but if you looked in my office, I had all these different jackets and shirts and everything because I was like, he's going to come in looking sharp.
See that? Inspired.
You know, I had to make sure. We always know I like to be
on the level.
One of the best dressed in the room, and I didn't win today. This is one of my flashiest jackets, and
Kevin upped it. Kevin
took it to the next level.
I love that jacket. That is sweet.
I thought I'd have a little fun.
That's what this podcast is all about. So I want to introduce Dr. Kevin Cox here, but before we get into his story, thanks to all of our sponsors, leadershipbooks.com, the OWL app, where you can get in touch with an expert one-on-one with just a click of a button. Think Big websites, and as always, Premier Virtual. So thank you for all that you do, our sponsors. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit about you and your story.
Oh, sure. I grew up down here, South Florida.
Nice.
Graduated high school, went to the University of Florida, got an undergrad and a master's in only 4 years. I managed to do undergrad in 3 in business management and psychology with a minor in entrepreneurship. And then my master's, I focused again on entrepreneurship. So I raced through college, even though that was at a time where I really should have taken my time. UF was winning national championships, football, basketball, simultaneously.
Missed those days, right?
Yeah. So I kind of raced through and then graduated in the Great Recession. So there were no jobs whatsoever. So I got a sweet job at a gas station. Pumping gas. It was like the Maserati of gas stations. So, because it was full service and on the island of Palm Beach. So $10 an hour plus tips. Also the same job I'd had since when I was in high school in 14. So
the degree was it put to use at that?
Not a lot,
That's hilarious.
So that was kind of tough. So right away I knew I wanted to get out of there. I started doing some tutoring, right? I tell founders or would-be founders, future founders, if you don't have any capital at all, what other kind of resources did you have? And I'd always been pretty good at school, so I figured, okay, I can do some tutoring. So I started doing some tutoring. I started doing some work at Lynn University, eventually teaching some classes, starting more of a tutoring venture, right? So that was an interesting experience. Met up with a guy there, and we co-founded an eyewear company.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a terrible job with it. We had no idea what we were doing, but we did get a patent, and we managed to bring the product all the way to market. We spent way more money than we should have, but eventually started generating some revenue. After that, we did a driver, a golf club.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very different. From my classes to a golf club.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. It's actually, we got a little recognition for bringing a new product to market. He was actually an attorney who was managing someone who passed away as a estate. And this guy had just a stack of patents. And he was like, you guys should help me bring some products to market. We looked through the whole stack and said, this driver with vertical grooves on the face, this looks great. We'll bring it to market.
Vertical grooves?
Yeah, it was called The Vertical, believe it or not.
I've never heard or seen anything like that.
Yeah, and it was such a good club. John Daly even played with it. That's a lie.
That's a BS.
That's the way it is. Bullshit.
Okay, so he did play with it, but that's because we gave him bags and bags of money.
Okay.
So
paid endorsements.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
So we didn't really realize how much it costs to make a golf club because we were making like 90-cent glasses,
Right, yeah. The plastic.
Yeah, we kind of missed the mark on that. So we had to raise a bunch of money at a real low valuation, and that's typically how you can wash yourself out of your own business.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what happened. I think from like 40% ownership to 4%.
Wow.
Yeah. So I quit going to work there. I was like, I don't care about this anymore. Someone else is going to have to run it.
It's in your portfolio, and that's about it.
Yeah. In the meantime, I started working on my PhD because I really enjoy teaching. Teaching's a lot of fun. It's enjoyable. It's always keeps you guessing. It's never the same. Every class is different. So I knew I wanted to do it right, and the way to do that right and not be an adjunct who never makes any money is to get a PhD. So I got that at FAU, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah.
I loved FAU. I started working with the Adams Center. I started working with the Tech Runway in the really, really early days when the facility didn't even have air conditioning. It's an old aircraft hangar. So it didn't have AC.
Wow.
It was a little brutal when we had our first meetings out there in the summer, but
That's a true founder story right there.
kept showing up, and eventually they gave me a job. I finished the PhD, and I'm still there at FAU. Now I'm running the Adams Center for Entrepreneurship, the lead instructor out at the Tech Runway, and I run our Veterans Florida Entrepreneurship program, our Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, which leverages our workbook called the New Venture Launchpad 2.0, which is a workbook I put together that's being shopped around the U.S. for expansion and further adoption. So
we may be able to help with that.
Dude, you don't do much, do you, Kevin?
I stay pretty busy.
I mean, we obviously, I know you through Florida Veterans Entrepreneurship Program when I first met you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go right to the gloves off today. What do you think?
Let's
right?
go.
So I'm gonna ask you the same question I've asked a couple other people.
All right.
When I first came into your program, and first night we were there, and you had a bunch of people in the room, they were all talking. What did you think of me and my idea? You can call it bullshit if you want. We've had some other, some interesting ones.
So over the years, I know I've worked with more than 500 ventures.
Wow.
So one of the things that I learned a long time ago that's really important is it's very hard to evaluate early stage ideas, right? I mean, if you want to talk about bullshit, the people who think they can judge and evaluate these, I've seen the research studies on angel investor returns. They're terrible. They don't know which companies are good, or they wouldn't lose their ass so many times.
Right.
So I don't.
I could talk about that a lot, but I'll hold my talk right now.
No, I love what you said already. It's hard to evaluate early stage.
You know what though? We're lucky, at least in the United States, in that there is something that will evaluate your idea once you get it put together, prototype, whatever you have. It's called the market, and the market is decisive. One way or another.
Quick. That's quick. Yeah.
It's gonna let you know. It's gonna give you some real hard and fast feedback once you get it in front of people.
Yeah.
And they might not like it, they might hate it. You fail. I mean, that's it. Or people come around to it. There's also environmental factors which played a role a little bit in your journey there. You never know about the external kind of trends, characteristics, anomalies that pop up.
Saved me 3 years of my life of marketing because that was the original plan.
Yeah. So I was open to it. I'd been doing it long enough where it's like, all right, I don't know. I wasn't too familiar with the space, but I mean, logically, it makes sense. The only things I see, if it's like one, you can't do it, like from a software engineering perspective, those I'll kind of chime in on. Or if the business model doesn't make any sense. Your business model made sense. I had no idea if people would use it, but then again, I rarely kind of do, unless I'm the customer. And for your product, I wasn't. So who knows?
Do you ever see any ideas? I think I probably know this, but that you just look at and they pitch it and you're just like,
all the time.
There's no chance.
I teach students. See?
Yeah.
A couple semesters ago.
I would love to hear. What are the wackiest ones you've heard?
No. No, we'll burn them down.
That's good.
There's no
Get
BS
right to
here.
the punches.
So these guys came up with an idea for a platform, right? This is gonna be an online platform,
Okay.
right? And I always focus, try to solve a problem. So what their problem was, Steve, you might be familiar with this problem. Maybe you were a customer. You ever, when you eat dinner, you cook a nice meal for the family, you ever have leftover food?
Yes.
Yeah, like a piece of chicken, half a piece, some rice, whatever. Imagine, Steve, if you could
I'm scared.
then post that food onto the internet for someone else to buy. You monetize your leftover food, they get a prepared meal.
Oh, did they use a fork while they were eating it, or did they use their finger?
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know.
There's no way to verify that. We have no idea what's in it. We don't know anything.
I'm sure the FDA would probably love
it's a platform to market and sell leftovers.
Over foods. Oof. Cooked.
Nobody wants
Eaten,
that,
half
right?
eaten.
No.
I don't eat my own leftovers. I'm
When,
gonna
when
eat
they
somebody
pitch
else's.
when they pitched you that idea, did you keep a straight face?
Oh yeah, initially, until they kept on with it,
Oh,
and they
man.
kept on with it, and I told them to interview some customers, and they said students are their customers, and that's when I had to hit the bullshit button
There
in
you
class
go.
because I had 38 students in there. They're telling me their interviews are going well, and I said, well, let's take the temperature right now.
Yeah.
The other 35 of you that aren't on this team, does anyone want this? No.
No.
Does anyone find this horrific or disgusting or something that shouldn't exist? Yes, everyone. And then they moved on. They actually came up with a pretty good idea. So I give them a shout out on that. They came up with like basically a different platform. They built a prototype for it. And it was kind of like an Uber for home chefs. Right. So there's a lot of like chefs on the internet and they're pseudo famous. Right. And they might like to have some gigs catering. And there's a lot of people who may not want to do like real expensive catering. Maybe it's not a big party, but they're having 8 to 10 people over. Boy, it'd be nice to have a chef come and cook. Maybe not a real chef, maybe an internet chef, and that's where they got it. So they stayed in the food space. They could still leverage the stuff they had built in terms of a platform, and they got a little bit of traction there.
As we're listening, it's my wife. If she's watching, she goes, "Why are you lying? You never eat leftovers."
Yeah,
like I don't eat leftovers. So she's like, "That would be a terrible idea for you."
Yeah,
I have them. And I honestly, because I don't eat leftovers and stuff will be in there and my kids are picky, probably because of the way that I eat, but our leftovers go to waste a lot. So what I decided to start doing is when I cook, I know how much we're going to eat and that's all I make. So I'm like, I'm not going to have leftovers because I know it's going to go to waste and I know I'm not going to eat them. Last night, there was 4 chicken wings left. I put 3 of them in. My son had taken a bite out of one. This wouldn't have been a good one for that. So I threw that one away, and I threw 3 more.
Sell that one on the platform.
Yeah. Sell that one on the platform. But I will say it right here today is what
20% off.
Yeah, you got to take a bite out of the price too.
Take a bite out of it. Yeah. So I will say it right now. It's March 9th. In a week, I'll look in my fridge, and those leftovers will still be there.
Let me tell you something that'll blow your mind. I've become a real boring kind of losery nutrition and food guy. So I eat only leftovers because I cook the entire food for the week on either Saturday or Sunday.
I used to do that,
and I package it all up. And then I have all these little bags and Tupperwares, and I just kind of
you got your meal prep.
Yeah, that's
done.
it. It's all done. I don't prep the whole meal. Here's a secret for you out there. If you want to get into this very lame thing, is you make all the things, but don't separate them into a little thing because you still don't know what you're going to want. You know, if you want green beans or mashed cauliflower as the side, right? You may want to mix those things, mix and match. So wait till you're going to eat to put it all together. But cook it all on the weekend. Save yourself a bunch of time. No trips to the grocery store. You know what you need, and then you got your food. You're done.
It's true. I used to do that on Sundays,
but
I did package it all together. Like you're saying not to, which is a great idea. Just keep them separate, and then you just put together what you want.
Yeah, because if you pre-pack it, you may open that thing up and get mad at yourself and be like, this meal is bullshit. I don't want this today. And it's like, well, if you don't go all the way, then you mix and match, you're good to go.
Good option there.
That's why I could never be a bodybuilder because I can't pre-make my food, right? I used to have roommates in college that would pre-make their chicken and all that, and they're like, I'm meal prepping for the week.
Yeah, it could also be that Snickers you pounded before the show.
Oh, I crushed that Snickers. Well, I went, we're way behind, and I was like, okay, I got some wings, I got some potatoes, I got some rice. I'm like, I don't have time to eat any of that. That's why I grab a Snickers. And usually
fell for the commercial.
Yeah.
I get hangry, and Snickers and Red Bull, That's my lunch a lot of times. Sometimes it's my dinner when I work late.
Well,
so.
here's something that if people aren't paying attention to nutrition, Snickers is no worse than most of those protein, health. It just tastes a lot better. Look at the back in terms of like sugar, calories, whatever. You might as well eat a Snickers if you're going to eat that processed stuff anyways.
So he kind of threw a softball to you, John, right? I think this is going a good path for you. So John here is a health coach as well. So obviously you're a healthy eater. All the health foods out there, all the proteins, everything, BS or legitimate?
Oh, I think whole foods. So when you say health foods, I don't know what to say. Is it stuff in bags and boxes? If it's bags and boxes,
we're talking about supplements and little packaged protein bars and all that kind of healthy stuff.
Yeah, I think that's nonsense. I seem to get the best results when I eat real whole food, right? And you can eat quite a bit of it if it's not like 90% meat. You can eat a bunch of food. You won't be hungry, but that's why I do the meal prep, because it's a pain in the ass to eat all real food. Like, it's a lot of food. I need a lot of spinach in a given week, a lot of cauliflower, a lot of green beans. There are some supplements that, are effective. It's probably like 4% of the stuff, maybe less.
Wow.
And that's like inside of GNC. But if anybody's looking for a resource on that, examine.com goes through all the research, meta-analytic reviews. I'm a nerdy researcher, so I like actual research, not like a swole guy on a Tupperware that's like, well, probably works. He's swole. There are research studies, so we know some things like creatine and macronutrients and those kind of things. But most of that stuff's just nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, it's true, and you're right. Eating whole foods, it even takes longer to eat whole foods, right? It just you can't just swallow like a spinach, a bunch of you can't just swallow. You got to chew that stuff, and it's good for you because you're chewing more. It's better for your digestion.
You'd actually be proud of me, John. We have some friends, some relatives coming over on Friday, so I'm smoking a brisket. Right? We know that I like to do that. But my wife said, I'm going to the grocery store today. What do I need to get? And I said, why don't you get some salad, get some carrots, get the cucumbers. We'll cut it up. We'll put it all together first. Then I'll pull mine out, and then you can put that nasty dressing and stuff on it, right? They like Caesar dressing.
Yeah, dressing.
They always say you don't eat your veggies, and I'm like, man, I'm down 10 pounds since January.
Looking good, man.
So
I got another,
and I still eat Snickers.
Look, I got another pro tip for you. All right, so if you don't like a raw salad, a lot of people don't. But we already heard, if you're really paying attention this episode, Steve likes it spicy. I eat most nights of the week what I now refer to as a spicy salad. All you got to do is replace your salad dressing with a healthy 0-calorie, relatively low sodium hot sauce. You can use as much as you want.
That's true. Yeah.
Frank's, my salad, Frank's Red Hot, Buffalo.
Just put that in there.
It's not as healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great salad.
A little grilled chicken.
Yeah. I always gotta have a protein in there.
Then I'll eat it, right? Some salad.
Yeah.
Little
grilled chicken. But the point was like the BS of the whole weight loss and nutrition world. It's just probably one of the biggest segments of BS is weight loss and just nutrition. I mean, how many, you hear, like he had a post the other day, the lady says, eat eggs, they're good for you. And in the same breath, don't eat eggs because you can get viruses and toxins. And, like every food and everything has its
all nonsense. There's too many giants dominating the online space.
Yeah.
We had a great company come through our accelerator called 20 Lighter. Their program works. It's all real whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty strict. So hang on, but it's also short. Did the program myself a couple of times, actually. I needed it back then. It's highly effective, a little bit expensive, but we really couldn't figure out how to get it to go mainstream because of all the nonsense. It just was tough. And they're still out there. They found some success, but
it's the marketing. Right?
Yeah, that
you
space.
Gotta market.
You got to spend so much money, and then how do you know that works any better than all these nonsense ones that really want you to kind of stay on it forever, right? Recurring revenue.
Yeah.
That's the model, which is like, that's the other problem with their model.
It's true. It
twice,
works and you're done.
Lost like 30 pounds. Was like, all right. I think I think we're good.
I don't need
And
you anymore.
You're never going to need it again because you learn enough on a program like that that you can manage it yourself moving forward.
Yeah, you figure it out. I mean, Whole Foods, no one can patent a spinach, you know, and that's ultimately you change your lifestyle, your diet, you know, to not be a diet, just a new way, healthy way of eating. And so you don't need supplements and you don't need all this other crap.
So what you're saying is a habit?
Yeah, that's right.
Create a habit.
If you want to go a little bit further too, try to buy them from as close to where they were grown as possible. That seems to also matter in terms of the nutrients and the vitamins that you're going to get from the fruits and vegetables, right? If they have to pick them and then artificially, because they pick them when they're green, like if it's a pear or a pineapple, right?
Yeah.
And they artificially ripen them. Well, it doesn't get the nutrients from the tree because it's not on the tree. It's in a big wooden basket in a weird room that does weird scientific stuff to it, and then it's ripe, and then it's in the store. So if you can go local,
so farm to table is a real thing. Then it's important where it's picked and when.
If you can get it, it's hard, and then this can be costly, cost prohibitive, right? Like I could certainly not afford it after I graduation at the gas station. Like it gets expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, now the McDonald's commercials is like, oh, I'm busy, so I ran by for lunch and I got this for $2. And then, and I was still busy, so at dinner I ran by and got this for $4 or $5. And it's true. I mean, even though the prices have gone up there too, it's much cheaper than, generally a healthy diet. I mean, as far as quick and easy, there's no.
Especially if you look at like price per calorie.
Right.
Because the other food's going to have less calories. So it's just, it's tough.
Yeah, it's easier to get fast food.
To eat a Snickers,
right? It's easier to eat a Snickers.
79 grams of sugar.
All right, is this thing a nutrition show? What are we talking about today?
So Kevin, mentors. What makes a good mentor compared to a bad mentor?
Oh boy, so many things.
Well, first, you know what? Let me back that up. Right. First, is mentorship important for startups?
Yeah, I think mentorship's an absolutely critical and essential kind of position that you need. You have to have it, right? Because it represents somebody external, which is important. You can kind of get lost in your own startup world of believing whatever you want to believe. It's good to have somebody outside take a look, give you some feedback. One, right? They're going to have some more experience, some more expertise that they can provide. And they shouldn't be, during their mentorship period, involved in the business, right? So they don't have those obligations to believe in something if it doesn't look like it's true. It's that external perspective, that rich experience. I'd encourage anybody and everybody to try to find a mentor, particularly a mentor with the right expertise, the right experience, and even the right contacts, right? It's easy for them to network for you because they don't have anything to sell. It's not their company. They have friends, they have, work experiences at various companies. If it's kind of a B2B thing, like those things can be invaluable. They can take you places where you otherwise cannot go.
I couldn't agree more, right? We talk about it, and in the book that's coming out, I a whole chapter dedicated to mentors and why they should have mentors, why it's so important. But I had a lot of shit mentors too.
Hey,
so
it happens.
What do you think, right, from your perspective, where you're running things? What makes a good mentor compared to a shit mentor?
Well, I first think it is. We'll blame them in a second, the real shitty mentors. But I think I think first is the matching component, because while this hopefully should blow your mind or at least surprise you. I'm not going to blow your mind, but believe it or not, I've been a shitty mentor before because I was on the wrong team. Right, this company was so early. And like the idea stage and development stage, that it wasn't even a company. There was nothing there, right? And I kept meeting with them month after month. And I'm like, you going to build something? Are we going to do something? Like, I don't know what to do. I can't. This isn't a company. This isn't a product. This is an idea. It's not even a validated idea. So, I mean, it was partly their fault too, but I couldn't help them. I tried. I kept meeting. I kept making suggestions, but there was nothing to be done. Whereas when I get matched up with a great venture that's a little bit later stage, like a company I was on last year, Carbon Limit, absolutely crushing it. I can do things. I can be immensely helpful in a short amount of time, just given my doing this for a decade, right? I know somebody for anything a founder may need, right? You need some video stuff done. You need a digital marketing company. You need the best IP attorney for a very specific niche. Yeah. I know all those people and all those things, and I probably know the best. And that's only through experience, some painful. But at this point, yeah, I can help. But when you're like, well, what do you think of this idea? Well, as I already explained, I don't know. The market's going to decide. So why don't you build something and bring it to market? Otherwise, I can't do much.
So now when you take on a mentee, you take that into consideration, like where they are.
I've been doing it long enough. They kind of let me do whatever I want.
So you can say no.
Yeah.
You can say
so
no.
I'm just kind of like, I want that one. Now
Don't
I
want
don't
that.
want that one.
And I think that needs to be that needs to be more is one. I think the mentors need to. I sent you that email last week with the questions that I believe that the mentee should be able to ask too. Is there's got to be in some of places out there. How can we have a good matching system? And how can they help, right? I had some mentors that were really good for me and had some great things. I had some other ones that I sat there for every month for a year and didn't do anything.
Yeah, so here's another thing. The mentors, they've got to be honest, right? Because most good accelerators, FAU, I like to think as a phenomenal kind of best-in-class accelerator, but the mentors have to be honest because our matching procedure, the mentors are asked to read through all the company profiles and then select their interest in a company. And they're matched based on that. You've got to be absolutely honest with yourself. Even if you think something's really cool, it might be really fun. What do you bring to the table as a mentor, right? Don't fall into that like, oh, well, that's cool though. I like sports and athletics. Have you ever worked in the industry? No. Have you ever? No, but like my daughter was an athlete back when she was in college. So can I help? It's like, well, no, probably not, right? Like, you can't pick them like that. You got to analyze the company, be honest, and maybe it is more boring because if you see a company and you're like, oh, that's what I did for 30 years in the corporate world. Well, jump on because you can help them. Okay, I know it's going to be a little boring, but you're perfect. So just do it, bite the bullet. And that's not maybe the most exciting venture, but that's where you can add the most value. You should be thinking about where can I add value. That's what I look at now. Can I add value? Sometimes I see really cool things and they'll ask me just because of my role, like, hey, can you be a mentor? And I will say, like, I love it. I will come to some meetings and stuff, but like, I don't think I can do anything. I got nothing for this. Yeah. No contacts. I don't understand the science, but yeah, I think it's cool as shit. Like, this is a phenomenal thing, but like, I don't have the contacts, the expertise, or anything that you're going to benefit from. Let me introduce you to someone else.
And I think that's awesome. Like with the certification that you're working on, that needs to be out to them. And I think that's so important. Just, again, now I'm seeing kind of from both sides and stuff like that. To me, that's one of the strongest things out there that I think a lot of people forget. They're like, hey, right, there's a shiny object. I just want the shiny object, but how can I help that shiny object?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Florida Veterans Entrepreneurship Program. Tell the audience a little bit about what it is and what you do for that, right? We know you're a phenomenal mentor. You've given us a lot of great feedback of them, but Florida veterans. So let's talk a little bit about that program.
Yeah, we can talk all about it because I always have a hard time promoting it. So it's fully subsidized by Veterans Florida. We've been doing it for 8 years now. It gets better every single year. Nice. Fully subsidized means it comes to the participants at absolutely no cost. But we still have a hard time recruiting, I don't want to spend a lot of the budget on marketing because I want to spend the budget on the veterans, right? And on the program. So we try to do some guerrilla stuff. We do a little ad spend. We're working on making better content and using social media and the things we should that I hate. But I encourage any veterans, if you just Google FAU Adams Center, click the veterans button, you'll see it. We're still right now taking applications for our growth program, which starts later on in April. We run 2 different programs. The early stage, right? That's what we're running 2 classes of concurrently right now. One's on Thursday nights tonight, and the other is on Saturday mornings, kind of accommodate anybody's busy schedule. They're both 8 weeks long, comprehensive educational component, and then that mentorship component you just referenced. The growth stage is for companies that have revenue. And that's kind of more like a graduate seminar on entrepreneurship. It's not a class. It's not a kind of me talk at you for 3 hours kind of thing. It's bringing real veteran business owners that are post-revenue together. It's almost more like an EO group or a very sophisticated group. I bring in some guest speakers and we solve real problems. And you get to connect with other veteran business owners in the community. So it's a great opportunity. And working with the veterans, just know for me, it's my absolute favorite thing to do because they listen and they execute, right? Like
they know how to get shit done.
Yeah, so many of this, not so many, but there's always a proportion of the students who I really can't teach anything because, you know, they're 21. It turns out they already know everything.
Yeah.
If you can believe that or not.
We talked about that.
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
So it's good to hear
the
that.
veterans are very receptive. They'll go out, they'll execute, they'll do a phenomenal job, they'll come back for more, and they have a tendency to make a lot of progress. It's the ones that stay committed.
It may be a rhetorical question, but so coachable is an important trait to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just being. I mean, I heard Jordan say, like, of all the amazing traits and skills he had, he said the most important thing was that I was coachable.
Yeah.
You know, I was willing to learn what I. You know, like you said, the 21-year-olds know it all. So how can you coach someone who knows it all?
Yeah, and we try to avoid getting those people into the accelerator because they're going to do whatever they're going to do, and it's just a waste of resources.
Yeah.
So you said that program's free for all veterans.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how long they've been out or how long they served?
Nope. They just have to be a Florida resident. That's the catch. But they could be anywhere in the state. We even have hybrid and virtual availability. So.
Okay. And that's all directly at FAU? The meetings are at FAU?
Yeah, and we do it every single spring, so long as we still get to partner with Veterans Florida, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. It's a really great program.
It's a great program.
You went through it?
I did go through that. Yep. I went through it right when COVID hit. So it went from in-person to virtual meetings instantly. But there's a lot of, you know, you've heard me say it before, John, right? The more you earn, the more you learn. Mm-hmm. You know, in this program I came in, and like any program, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, right? Another cliche, right? Garbage in, garbage out. But if you could take some of that stuff, and even if it's one little piece, it's huge, right? The workbook that you have is phenomenal. You know, and we're still here, 3 years later now, and you're still doing it. I love talking about that because I obviously, me being a veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division, I love to be able to help veterans as well. So, you know, now it's, and we're going to get into this, and, you know, I went from being the person in the pitch competition to now judging some pitch competitions. Do you feel that pitch competitions can harm some organizations?
Harm some organizations that are participating in them? Yeah, absolutely. There's a downside. So first, there's the massive upside, right? Free money a lot of times. You really can't beat that. Non-dilutive funding is another way to put it. That free money's easier. But that said, I've seen some examples of some people getting sidetracked, in particular students, because there's statewide pitches, there's national pitches, there's hundreds and hundreds of pitch competitions. They may really get caught up in the pitch circuit, and they'll be honing their pitch, but they're not building a business at all on the side. Yeah. Like, they're just pitching. They're just getting it down to a science, and you still have to build the thing. You know, and some of them made a lot of money that way, but then they never built anything. Wow. So you don't want to get caught up on that side of things. Also, just it's a time. You know, time is one of your resources that you need to leverage, and these things take time. Also, they tend to be a little bit of a crapshoot in terms of who wins. Going back to that earlier point about nobody can really judge these things at this early of a stage. Sometimes it can be clear if there's something that is later stage, and that thing usually wins. But nobody really knows, so that can be psychologically and emotionally challenging if you are losing, right?
Yeah, that's the dark side of
That's
the.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always tell them, like, don't worry about it. Like, I am a judge for these things, and I'm telling you, we don't know. Like, we don't know how to pick the best one, and I'm a judge for plenty. Like, you're a judge, you don't know. You're going to be wrong sometimes.
100%.
Yeah,
You know, you're guessing on that person pitching, right? So, and I know, we'll say this, right? When I was on pitch competitions, on some of them, I would look to see who the judges were. So I knew what their background was, so I could add something into my pitch based on the judges. You know, I didn't always do it, but it actually took me losing one time, and I was pissed that I lost. Everybody knew I won the pitch competition. It was an outside competition, and I took third. And I looked at my wife and I go, when they called me up for third and there was boos in the crowd, I go, I'm not going up to get the check.
Oh man,
I'm like, I was mad.
BS.
And she goes, stop being a millennial, get up there, right? My wife's a millennial. She goes, get up there and take your check. So I went up there high, right? They called the first person, right? Everybody in the crowd came up to me, right? They knew that I won that pitch competition, right? But you look at the judges, and I realized, right, when one of the judges is hugging one of the other people, and you know that you realize sometimes it's about the judges, who they know, what they like. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to start looking. If I know, I can start looking into ads or anything. No, I didn't always do that, you know, because I always thought, hey, I went through is saying, hey, I'm confident in front of a room. No, not everybody is. But if I look at a pitch competition right now, judging it, a lot of times I look at the person who's the most confident about that, and do they have all the information?
Yeah.
I have to pull out, like I was a judge for a pitch competition recently, and we all know I'm a barbecue guy, and one of the people was pitching a barbecue sauce. And I was like, I have to, in my head, I'm like, I got to take out that I love barbecue sauce. And it was phenomenal barbecue sauce, by the way.
Was it?
But I had to take out that he just wasn't ready, right? And I had a long conversation with Adam and say, hey, you got a great business, but here's some things that you need to look at, right? Here's some things that you need to do. But, you know, again, I look at the confidence of that, right? So you want to win me over, confidence is a huge thing.
Yeah, and I mean, judges will vary, right? A founder like yourself makes for a great judge, even with the fact that we still don't really know, but you may get terrible judges, right? So sometimes, which, I mean, you need sponsors to fund all this activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'll give
It's
judge seats
yeah.
to sponsors. I kind of put a stop to that around things that.
Oh, that's it. All right, let's get in. Worst judge. Worst. You don't have to say the name. Tell me about a bad judge.
Worst judges have been bankers. Bankers are real shit judges.
Yeah, I can
they
see
don't
that.
know
Yeah.
anything about startups. People think they do because they work at a bank. People also think banks give loans to people to start businesses. All of that is bullshit. None of those things work. You want a loan from a bank, you better start your business 2 years ago and have clean financials and a good credit. Like, they don't loan. They don't work with startups. They don't deal with early stage companies. They don't deal with
no
ideas.
risk. Yeah.
But people assume, well, he's the VP of this, you know, regional Bank of America, and I'm like, oh, he's not going to know shit. I can guarantee you that. And they're like, oh, he does their business banking, and I'm like, well, these aren't businesses according to Bank of America,
right?
Yep.
So they're not going to know anything. Bankers
They're not even small
always
business.
the worst.
Yeah, when you're at that stage, you're not even a small business to a banker.
They pick the randomest thing to win, whatever the shiny object is. Like, you know, it's going to be bad when there's a bank after the person's name.
Yeah.
It just is.
I love it. That's great.
You see it though, right? Because they're the ones that I've seen out there that just, I'll call it, berate those people about their numbers. Why do you not have your figures in track? I mean, I'm a startup. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't even.
It's an assumption.
I sold a couple deals right now, and I don't know where that's at. Now, I know we're kind of, you know, where we're at in time, and I would love to be able to really talk about investors and stuff like that. But Again, I know your time's valuable. I'd love to have you back on because that to me is a whole other episode of angel investors, VCs, all of that stuff. We talked a little bit about that, right, with angel investors. Can you give any little nugget, right, if somebody should or shouldn't look for angel and VCs?
Most people that are thinking about it shouldn't, because they're way too early. You're too early. Look, I'm glad you brought this up. I was just talking about this, and I talk about it all the time. Look, there's a big myth in entrepreneurship. People come in my office, Steve, and they say, I've got a phenomenal idea, best idea.
The best.
This is going to be
never
huge.
heard,
This
yeah.
is going to change the world.
This is the next Google and
Yeah,
Amazon.
this is going to change the world type of stuff, right? All I need is an investor. And all that tells me is two things. One, this is going to be a real shitty idea. It's going to be terrible.
Don't take this the wrong way, but bullshit.
Yeah. But it might be
We'll get you a bug.
entertaining.
We'll get you a bug,
I'll
Kevin.
take the meeting,
Yeah.
right? So it might be entertaining, right? And that you're not going to get any investors. Why? Is it the idea? No, it's actually not the idea. It's because investors don't invest in ideas. That's not a thing. That's a myth. That's false. That's fake. You might be able to get a little money from your friends and family, depending on how much money they have or assets that they're basically willing to throw away, right? This is high risk areas, and there is no, that's not a thing, right? I got an idea, I need an investor. Investors invest in businesses. You have to build a business. You might say, well, I don't have any money to build a business. Well, we got to figure that out. We got to go lean. We got to start small. We got to pursue competitions, grants. Like, we got to get something investable, which is a business, not an idea for a business. That's just, it's not a thing. I run around and tell everyone, but everyone is often surprised and thinks like, oh, well, really? But what if it's a really good idea? It doesn't matter. Like, there's nothing to invest in. There's no way to put a valuation on it. It doesn't happen. So you got to build a business, and the further you can push without, like, people don't want to hear financial analysis of when's the right time for angels and VCs. As far as you can push, because the further you're pushing that down the road, the higher you're making your valuation. If you're generating enough revenue to grow off that, keep growing. Keep growing. You might start about having some talks so you can grow faster, but keep growing. You get to keep more of your business because the valuation is just getting higher and higher. So we know how that works out in terms of equity. When you do have an investor come on board and join your cap table, the later, kind of the better, within reason, right? Don't put yourself in a situation where you could run out of cash, not make payroll, really have a big, big problem. But get creative and wait, wait till you're at a position where the angels and VCs are kind of like drooling because you've been so far down the road without any investors that they get real excited, right?
I can tell you that was my thought. When I came in, I'm like, oh man, I got this great idea. People are going to invest in me. And I had one of my mentors tell me, every dollar you earn is a dollar you don't have to get invested in. And it really made me think, okay, is that the truth, right? And I kind of struggled with it a little bit. And they had me get the book Venture Deals. And I read that. And I was like, they're sharks, right? The VCs out there, they're going to know. I mean, you could sell you could take a $1 million investment for 10% of your business. But if they need to make a 10X on that $1 million and you sell for $10 million, you get zero. And so many people don't understand that. And that book to me was really an eye opener of, I don't want to go up to the VCs, right? I talked to some angel investors. I talked to VCs, and I've talked about that on, other episodes of why I didn't want to go with that. But so many people think what you have.
Well, what he just said is exactly what has happened here with Premier. I mean, right? You've bootstrapped it. You've built a business. We've gotten it to the point where, there's financials, there's valuation. And now it's investor maybe, can actually look at it. Where before it was just, it's a great idea. What investor is going to understand what's in your head. No.
And even if they could understand it,
That's
if
not
it's
how
at the
yeah.
idea stage, the valuation's next to nothing.
Yeah.
So if they kick
Yeah.
in a measly $100,000, they own the majority of it.
Yeah.
Like that wouldn't work for you. Then you're not going to work hard. It's going to be like when we got washed out of that golf club. When you get down to owning 4%, you're not going to the office.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, figure it out. I don't care what happens.
Yeah, you know, we I forgot what I was going to say right here, but
well, I just thought it was a great point. You know, I mean,
it's true because so many people think about that and they want the investors. And right now it's, you know, you read Crunchbase or all this stuff. So this company raised $10 million. This company raised $100 million. But you know what they did to get there?
Yeah,
they did a lot to get there.
This company, this
company.
business with these employees, with this revenue, with this product, with this product lineup, with these existing customers, with this recurring revenue. Like, that makes sense.
Investors could have 100 reasons to invest in you, but one not to. You know, and I spoke with a VC really early on, right? I was connected with him through one of my mentors. And I spoke with the guy, and he's like, hey, here's what you need to do for me to invest in you. You need to build out your C-suite. You need to do $1 million in revenue, and you need to switch from an event-based pay to an annual agreement. Got it. Did all of that very quickly. Saw him. I was actually speaking where he was a judge on the pitch competition. Reached out, and I was like, hey, let's jump back on the call. I've done everything. I get on the call with him, and he goes, yeah, you know, with everything going on right now, we've seen some other things, and we're just not going to invest in you. He just had that one reason, right? But they didn't believe in it of where it was. And you realize that you can't, just because an investor doesn't believe in you, doesn't believe you have a bad product, right? It's just not the right time for them. Or maybe it's not, you know, people looking at, hey, I want this person to invest in me, but, you know, I always said when I talk to angel investors and stuff like this, I'm like, I don't want your money. I want what else you can do for me. What else? How else can you help me grow? You know, so when they're like, oh, well, we're interested in giving you this much money. I'm like, what else you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
And that's how I was, right? And I saw, you know, when you get into the angel investor and they want to start arguing with you about different things and they don't understand stuff, it's walk away.
Yeah. I mean, the ideal scenario to be in is where you can pick strategic investors. That's pretty hard to do, but it can be done, and you're absolutely right. There's such a large myriad of reasons why investors may or may not invest. You know, I'm doing so much of that now that I have my new role that I spend a little time on with River Hill Group, and we focus on helping companies that are ready and qualified to raise Series A rounds. We do everything for them kind of as their bankers. I've been doing a bunch of this, and we had a line on somebody who was really interested. It's a massive family office that I won't mention, but everyone listening knows the name. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we were real excited. He's on a little entrepreneurship TV show. I'll say that. It gets about 10 million viewers. Has to do with sharks. Anyways, so it was like a plant-based milk product. And his team, you know, those people are massive. So they have teams, they have analysts, a bunch of gatekeepers. We got through all of them, right? And we got, you know, to the person, which was, you know, really exciting. But he said, pass. Why? Well, invested a couple years ago in a different plant-based milk, and it's not going too well. I wish I'd invested in this one, but I already got that sector. And it's not going that well, so I don't like it. And there you go. Had nothing to do with the business in question whatsoever. True. Nothing. Guaranteed, pretty much guaranteed based on the feedback. If there wasn't that other prior investment, we had it.
Yeah.
So you did nothing wrong. It just wasn't a fit, right?
Yeah. So you got to find the right fit. All right. So we're going to end it with hit like we always do here, John.
Let's do it.
Right? I think we're tied again. So, Kevin, what we're going to do is we're going to ask you a question. Grab that little black marker there. While I'm asking this question, I want you to sign our graffiti wall here with your name.
Wherever you want.
Sweet.
Yeah, wherever you want.
Big,
so
little,
what we're going to do is we're going to ask you, we want you to give us 3 statements, right? It's the old game, 2 truths and a lie. John and I are BS detectors. We want to see who's a better BS detector. So what we're going to do is you're going to tell us 2 truths and a lie, and we're going to see who's the better BS detector. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
All right, I'll
So-
jot them down.
I
I'll
got
summarize.
the
All
cards
right, I
here.
hit you with a few. All right,
Okay.
so first, I graduated high school as the valedictorian with the highest GPA of all time at that school.
Whoa. All right. It's funny because I thought of that as one of my BSs. Valedictorian with highest GPA.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Also, I played a non-traditional sport called lacrosse
Well, I mean,
and set a record for the number of face-offs I won in a row.
Ooh, he's getting good.
okay. I can see Kevin playing some lacrosse. All right. Number 3.
And to this day, I maintain a sub-10 handicap out on the golf course.
Oh. we're trying to figure out, right? Read the doctor here.
Okay. Well, he had
I
a.
picked some pretty extreme things across the
Maintain-
board.
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
He flew through college. He told us so.
That's what I'm thinking.
So
I think number 1's out, right?
So lacrosse, he's got the physique because that's a great sport, and then maintain a 10 handicap. Man, he has the golf club story, so he does like golf. You know that. So
Which one are you going with?
I'm gonna say the BS is the lacrosse.
See, that's what I wanted to go with, but I just feel like he wants to try to trick us because he talked about education so much. Like, I think he's very intelligent, so I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna say you were the valedictorian, but you didn't have the highest GPA. So I'm gonna go number 1 BS.
Oh, boys. I do not have enough time to maintain that low of a handicap. That's a low
He got it.
handicap.
That's a very low
I
handicap.
play golf, but I shoot like over 90. I'm never below like a 20 handicap.
Yeah,
The golf club story got me. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I do play. I'm just not that good. I aspire.
Good, then we get to
this
play.
summer. I'm gonna try to make that
All right.
last one true.
Let's
So,
go out there.
Great
I
job
like
and
that.
all that, Kevin. Thanks for coming in. Always great seeing you.
Yeah.
We'll
Both,
talk to you
both
soon.
struck out, so we're still tied.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you,
still
Kevin.
tied.